Now, I have a little disclaimer. I was going to wait for the final half hour for this, but I want to get this out because I know this is going to be on the podcast, and I'd love to get your comments on this. Bob, I raced cars professionally in the 70s and 80s, and I had been all over the country. I didn't get out of the country, but I was in the country racing a well-known circuit at the time. I got to know cars pretty well. Now, today, I still race recreationally. I don't do it for a living anymore, but one of the things that's really interesting is I know cars and I know people who work on cars. A couple of interesting things. Today, aside from Bernanke being up on the Hill, they also had the high-ups from Toyota in front of Congress trying to explain what had happened with their vehicles. CNBC this morning had a poll on that said, do you believe that the situation with the Toyota cars is just a matter of floor pad positions and sticking linkages, or is there something more to it? The last time I checked that survey, 3 out of 4 people said they thought there was something more to the problem with Toyotas than just simply floor mat placements and that kind of thing. One of the things that strikes me as interesting is now the government owns Government Motors. It used to be called General Motors. Seems to me that they're having trouble selling General Motors cars. So rather than go build better cars and promote their own situation, much like what happens in politics when you're running an election campaign, you got 2 ways to play. You can build up your own case, or you can tear down the other guy. Now, Toyota has historically sold an awful lot of cars in this country. Might have actually been number 2 in total sales here in the U.S. for a while. I have a feeling that what's happening is that the government is jumping on Toyota as a means of bashing the competition. They have spooled this thing up to astronomical proportions to make the case to try and tear Toyota down. Let me tell you something. Cars have had recalls for stuff going back since they were first built. And Toyota didn't build a reputation for years and decades by building garbage products. I'm not a pro or an anti-Toyota person. I raced and drove BMWs mostly. But the thing I see happening, we had a story last week about the Priuses being recalled because of problems with the ABS systems making the pedal feel funny. Excuse me, but when ABS kicks in, that's what's supposed to happen, is the pedal's supposed to be funny. That's the way it works. That's normal operation. My first reaction when I saw that story was, dumb Prius people are clueless about how to drive their cars. But it pointed up a bigger story, and the bigger story was, I talked to some folks that are in that repair business that were telling me that they now have in the recalls, they are programming every bit of pedal feel out of the brake pedals for Priuses and all these other Toyota cars because they just simply don't want people feeling like there's something wrong when what's supposed to happen, happens. But the thing I find interesting, Bob, do you think it has to do with just the cars and the mechanical issues, or do you think that there's something bigger at work here and a means to try and knock the competition down with the same kind of mope and spin that they're doing with everything else that comes out of the government's mouth today?
Well, I think you're right in citing what you have, but I think it goes further than that. I think it is a matter of the new Japanese government. This is the first time that any party has been in office other than the major party in Japan since the Second World War. And that party was put into power by the United States government, and it had been kept in power during that period of time by the United States government and the fascists who still run the major companies in Japan, such as Mitsubishi and Sony, etc. These are the people who collaborated with the United States government to get the U.S. into World War II. And that didn't happen. It was planned that way. And so what the U.S. is doing is saying, look, you got to do what we tell you to do, Party B, and if you don't do that, we're going to cause you lots of problems. And this is a form of extortion. And I've seen them do it in many other countries firsthand. And so what they've done here is, as you said in your assessment of former problems with vehicles that, you know, the recalls and all of that sort of thing, it was never bent out of shape like it is now. And there's a reason, not only for General Motors to get more business, but also to teach the Japanese that they're going to buy our treasuries. You know, it's interesting. The attack came out, and the Japanese went on the market and bought about $41 billion worth of securities, treasuries. So maybe they're getting the message. And this is the way America has always worked, not the way that you're told in history books and by your teachers. It's a lie. They're not good people, the people who run our country. And they haven't been good people for a long time.